TG Geeks episode 364, February 7th, 2022. Stuff and Stuff. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of Geek-dom and Nerd-ery, sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona. And I should have said HR Stuff and Stuff.
I don't get it. And I'm Ben Raggington, coming to you from... Lidsville?
Who what?
Lidsville.
Lidsville.
Well, that was forget it. That was I think that was a Sid and Croft, Marty Croft. Forget it. One of those shows like HR Puff and Stuff.
I don't get it.
I didn't think you would. With Charles Nelson Riley.
I see.
Also Phoenix, Arizona. Boy, that was a bad joke.
Let's get on with it.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the Two Gay Geeks are discussing this.
Yes?
Ben and Keith are going to gab.
Yeah.
We're going to gab about a lot of things. We have a whole list of stuff this time. Have our regular birthday shout-outs and podcast of the week and some feedback, as well as we have something interesting and an important topic that I think needs to be discussed.
Oh, God, yeah.
In the second segment.
Hopefully we'll have the time for it.
Yeah, well, we'll make the time.
Well, I tried to keep the feedback minimal because I wanted us to have the second segment.
And then we have our wacky weekly recap as well as our regular shout-outs, and we're just going to get right to it then. Well, now it's TG Stuff and Stuff.
Cute.
So, we have a whole list of things that we would like to talk about this week. Some interesting stuff that has come up, press releases and just interesting trailers and
interesting
things
news items
going on,
yes.
as well as, just several other things that we just wanted to talk about that we haven't. It's generally second segment stuff, but we just threw it all into the first segment and said, we're going to talk about these things because we never get to the second segment.
We
rarely.
Never do.
So
and some of these are big.
First up, Foundation. Season 2.
I had hoped.
Holy cannoli.
I had hoped that they were going to do a season 2. Although, as we've said many times, the way they ended season 1 was perfectly fine.
Yes.
But what they were doing with at least season 1 is that every time there was a shift in time, they always moved forward. Obviously, it looks like they're going to have to move backwards now,
right,
to tell some more story. But it had been rumored that this was going to be a 7-season series, so I'm glad they're finally doing it. And we got a nice little article on that. I mean, it adds 10 people to the cast, and it gives a debut first look.
Exactly, and tells some interesting. Not spoilers, but just some interesting things about the new season. And it looks like that Harry Seldon is coming back, or, at least by the photos, but who knows? As
well, I'm looking at the article now, and we'll have the link for this article in the show notes for this episode on our website, so that other people can look at it.
Oh, it was
this is from Variety.
Yeah.
And this was just reported just a few days ago, as of when we're recording this.
Yeah.
So
it looks fascinating. I'm excited.
I'm too. I'm very excited.
I enjoyed the first season a lot.
I thought it was great. It looked absolutely amazing. And because they've just announced it, I have no idea as to when it's going to actually get in front of the camera.
Exactly.
Because, as we know, with the Great Pause being what it is, there's a lot more pre-production that needs to take place now to ensure that everybody is healthy and safe when they make these shows.
You bet.
So we'll obviously be keeping an eye on that. But yeah, again, we'll have the link for this because I think this is a very interesting article, and it's pretty lengthy. Won't read the entire thing, but wow. I could not be more excited for the fact that we're going to be getting another season on this.
Exactly. And then we have Star Trek Picard.
Yes.
And this is not talking about season 2.
No, this is
although that trailer dropped just a couple of days ago, or a week or so ago.
Well,
which looks fascinating.
They've dropped several trailers for Star Trek Picard season 2, but they're already working on season 3.
Yes.
Now, there's a bit of controversy because initially what was reported is that this is going to be the final season. And there has been some news interviews with Patrick Stewart saying that this is initially what he had in mind. But there have been other people coming forward, and I can't be certain if it's Akiva Goldman or if it's Alex Kurtzman. I'm not sure which one. But one of them has said, no, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, we kind of looked at season 3 as possibly being the end, but we're sort of keeping it open-ended. So
in other words, they're going to milk it for as much as they can get.
Well, if Patrick Stewart has anything to say about it, and if he really does intend,
well, he's producer on this,
right? He's not an exec producer. He is a producer, so he's got a lot to say as to how this is going to go. Now, one thing that has been already talked about, season 2 is supposed to be a very intimate show, or a very intimate season. It's not going to be universe changing. I mean, it's really going to be dealing with Picard. We might get some more background on the whole Guinan-Q relationship, which I would love to get.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of untold story between those two characters. So I would like to see very much what's going on. And then, of course, to find out what's Q's game in all of this. But
Q's playing a game.
When is he not?
Exactly.
But what's the game this time is the question.
What is the game this time?
But what is really exciting to consider is that just as much as this past, maybe this season and the last season of Discovery gave some really big game changers.
Yeah.
They're looking at season 3 of Picard of completely changing the game again.
Really?
Not retconning anything, but adding some new things that will completely just blow the cannon wide open. Much like with Discovery when they reunited the Vulcans with the Romulans. And now Vulcan is called Navarre. Things like that. So
it is?
Stop it. We're not going down that road. It is. Oh, it is.
It is.
It is. Yes.
Oh, it is it?
Yeah, we're no Vicar of Dibley today. But yeah, that seems to be the talk of where season 3 is going to go. I'm terribly excited about it. Just have to kind of wait and see. Again, it's still early. Production got halted briefly for season 3 because there was some people, some tech crew that contracted COVID. No, none of the cast got it. So, but it's after just a couple of weeks. After a couple of weeks, they got right back into production again, and it's still going full swing. So I'm very excited to see where that's going to go. And of course, we got season 2, which I believe premieres March. It was supposed
so many different things.
Yeah, it was supposed to premiere, I think, in February, but I think it got pushed back to March.
Interesting.
So we'll have to wait and see on that. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where season 2 goes, especially with Q, with John Delancey and Whoopi Goldberg, and then Brent Spiner.
Coming back as he's coming back as an older version of Dr. Soong.
Yeah.
Probably the one that was responsible for the eugenics war in the first place.
It's possible.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
And I also would add that this season 2, I'm probably sure that the showrunners are very happy that because it's a lot of it is set in the past, that they get to do just a lot of local shooting, and it's going to maybe actually save on production costs.
You never know. Now, on to one of the big ones.
This is one of the most controversial ones.
Exactly.
Sadly. I can't figure this one out.
Book of Boba Fett, and we're 7 episodes into the episode
season.
season. I really like the Book of Boba Fett.
I do too.
And I don't understand what the real controversy is, but I've tried to stay away from a lot of, the controversy and anything else, which is going to lead into what we're going to talk about in the second episode segment.
I will go so far as to say that I've yet to read one cogent opinion as to why people think this is a bad show.
Well, I think there's just Boba Fett naysayers to begin with.
Which I don't understand, because when the Book of Boba Fett was announced, right at the end of the last season of the Mandalorian, right?
Mandalorian.
It's a new kind of car.
Yes.
At the last season of the Mandalorian, I mean, the social media,
a new Las Vegas casino, the Mandalorian.
Yeah, hey, maybe. The outcry, well, not outcry, but the cheers through social media was almost deafening. I mean, you could hear people just shouting how happy they were from the rooftops that we were getting this new show, The Book of Boba Fett. And it's the same people running it as they did with The Mandalorian. I mean, it's Jon Favreau, it's Dave Filoni. I mean, and the entire cast or crew of directors that were responsible for the enormous success of The Mandalorian. They're working on the Book of Boba Fett, and yet people are hating on this thing, and I don't understand why.
I think because it's not The Mandalorian. That could be one thing that's underlying that. The other thing could be that we're getting a lot of backstory through various means, as well as current story of Boba Fett.
Okay.
And people are not understanding why, the one episode where Boba Fett never appeared in the entire episode.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it was all about Mando.
Yeah, but I don't understand why. Well, initially, to people in the first couple of episodes, they just hated on it as well.
I don't get it.
And I don't understand. I while I was not a avid Boba Fett fan, I mean, I thought he was pretty cool. The armor and the jetpack and
there was a mystery behind him.
Stapler, ship.
I mean, there was something very mysterious about him. I mean, granted, I kind of wonder if a lot of that mystique surrounding him got
it's not
lost.
Living up to their headcanon, shall we say?
Well, no, I'm wondering if a lot of the mystique about Boba Fett got lost with the prequel trilogy when we got introduced, during the Clone Wars, and we had Jango Fett and his unaltered clone son, Boba. So I'm wondering if that isn't playing some kind of part as to why people are so upset with it. But I'm not hearing that. If that's what they're upset about, okay, I understand where you're coming from. But all I'm hearing is, I don't like it. I hate it. I think it's awful. Okay, tell me why. I'd like
I
to
just
know.
hate it.
Well, that's not an answer.
It's an answer to me.
Well, and then it sort of as a follow-up to that, I just read an announcement that I think in May, Disney Plus is going to drop the new Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
Right.
And
I never liked Obi-Wan Kenobi anyway.
Well, no. The first comment out of the gate on that one was another show for Disney to ruin.
Obi-Wan.
Wow.
Obi-Wan. Now that's a name.
No, I'm really bothered. I'm really bothered by
it's
this.
Just
that all of a sudden, great, another show for Disney to ruin. Oh, really? Okay, so did they ruin The Mandalorian? I mean, obviously, I guess they ruined Boba Fett for you, but I would like to hear a cogent response as to what is wrong with the show. Because I love the Book of Boba Fett. I think it's very interesting.
I think it's fascinating. I think
and I think
his history, his dealing with the Sand People. I mean, granted, that was Dances with Wolves.
Oh, totally Dances with Wolves.
And Jeremiah Johnson, and all of those films, replayed.
But those become like tropes. So what? I mean, you look at classic Star Wars, and it's a Western plus a samurai film all at the same time. I mean, so what? You looked at the last episode.
Last Starfighter?
No, don't derail me like that. The last episode of the Book of Boba Fett, and you saw, spoiler for people who haven't seen it, you see Luke training Grogu, and there is a bit out there that's almost lifted right out of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, where Luke effortlessly, through the Force, scales a couple of very thin bamboo rods.
Right.
So that he can help Grogu get a big look at the valley they're living in.
Right.
So there's a lot of inspiration. I mean, George Lucas himself has said that a lot of the movies, or a lot of the sources that he drew upon when he started doing Star Wars, I mean, these were things that meant a lot to him. You know, a lot of Kurosawa films, for example, came into that. Also, some classic Western played into what he was trying to put together. So, yeah. So, the Book of Boba Fett's largely inspired by Dances with Wolves. So what? They're just maintaining a pattern that had already been established in earlier Star Wars films. So I don't understand. You hate it? Okay, I'm not saying you're wrong in hating it. I would just like to know why you hate it.
So, in essence, really, Star Wars was Westworld and THX 1138 combined.
No. I don't get. I mean,
it was a Western, and
there is nothing THX 1138 about Star Wars except for its creator.
Well,
I mean, but it doesn't even. I mean, there's no cosmetic resemblance whatsoever.
Well,
none.
If you say so.
Well, I'm not seeing a bunch of bald people walking around in Star Wars looking completely emotionless.
Well, what about the droids?
No.
Okay.
They've got more emotion than some of the cast in THX 1138.
That just reminded me of one of the episodes where you hear the gonk droid squealing.
Well, the gonk droid squealing was in Return of the Jedi.
No, there was an episode here.
Oh, that's right. That was that was the last
couple episodes ago.
No, actually, it was the last episode where there was a big shootout in the hangar, I think.
Right. Yep, it was the gonk droid.
Right, it was
squealing.
The gonk droid squealing.
Gong.
Yeah, that's right. We had to replay it back because I thought I heard a gong squeal.
Exactly. Was that a gonk droid squealing?
Yes, it was.
Now, on to
Prodigy.
Star Trek Prodigy.
Which just had its mid-season finale. Mid-season?
Yes, mid-season.
Holy smokes. Wowza.
Wow is right.
Loved it.
And there's 10 episodes left to go.
I know. It's like, where the blazes is this show going to go now? And spoiler again.
No, don't give any spoilers.
Okay, well, somebody showed up that I didn't expect to show up, and now fandom is going nuts.
Yep, exactly. So it is worth watching. It really has hit its stride and really become a Star Trek property, project, production, the whole 9 yards. At first, it was like, what is this? And, and I've said a couple of times, you have to live with a little hand wavium in some of this because they do a lot of things. And then you have to realize this is a children's show. It's made for Nickelodeon. So it was fascinating to see and how they've grown and how they've revisited some of that stuff that they started at the beginning and kind of explained it a little bit more.
Especially the character of Dal, he's appointed himself as captain of the ship.
Yeah. And how he's grown.
His growth is amazing. And we were told very early on, I mean, right after the first two episodes dropped, the showrunners were already coming forth saying, "Oh, don't worry about Dal. Yeah, he's reckless right now. He's just completely ridiculous, but he will grow into his role." And we've seen that.
Yes,
we saw. I mean, I was so happy to see where he came and how he's arrived at this present position of captain. And it's now a crew.
Exactly.
They are now a crew. They are a team working together. And it just makes me so happy to see how each of them has their own sense of worth
Exactly.
on that show.
Yeah.
And I can only hope. Well, I mean, that's what that was Roddenberry's vision in the first place.
Yep.
Totally. I mean, you think about, especially like when Michelle Nichols playing Uhura, trying to tell, African-American people back then in the 60s, see this? I got a black woman on my bridge. Look at that, people. You've got worth.
Exactly.
And I'm hoping that even though these characters are all very fantastic, that, children are looking at this and maybe seeing something of themselves in there.
Yeah.
Which would be great.
I do want to say something about the animation. I like the animation.
I love the animation.
And there was one in a recent episode where Dal's legs were expressive because you couldn't see his face and you couldn't see his hands. It was his legs that were expressive when he was saying a line. I thought it was interesting and unique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, the animation is beautiful in this show. I love it.
Now, something very interesting. This came to me in an email from Amazon.com or Amazon Kindle, and it is an anthology that I bought a long time ago, actually, when we first started talking to Katie Edwards, before The Last Son even came out. I did some digging and found an anthology where he had a short story in the anthology, and it's called Doom Days. We're going to have the link in the show notes so that you can go to Amazon and purchase that.
Well, the short story is the Grasshopper Song.
Correct.
If I read this right.
Yes. And I did tell him that was we were going to give a shout out, and he said, "Oh no, please! It's horrible. It's horrible." I thought it was
Did you read it?
A great short story.
Well, you know how self-critical he is.
I love.
And I appreciate that. I mean, he was terrified after we read The Hourglass Throne. He was scared.
Yeah.
And was like, tell me now so that I can cry on my drive home.
Yeah.
I've got a 3-hour drive, so let me know now so that I can cry during my drive. And it was like, relax.
This was his first endeavor and first release, and it's an anthology. There's like 6 or 8 people that contributed to the anthology. He said, I don't even know who's getting paid or why or when or anything else, but it's a first look at his writing and where he started and where he went with The Last Son. Very detail oriented, obviously, as he is, a world building type of thing without overwhelming you. And there's kind of an interesting little story in there that is kind of charming. So
I look forward to reading
it. Give it a shot. It's cheap.
We'll have
if you only read that piece of it, it's still worth it.
Yeah.
So.
We will probably have the banner link for this and I'm guessing in our episode article.
Yeah. And then a shout out to Queer Sci-Fi. And if you go to Queer Sci-Fi, we're going to have a link to go to Queer Sci-Fi. If they do feature a lot of authors. They're all, on the queer spectrum, shall we say. And if you sign up for their newsletter, they actually have some goodies that they send to you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat. Go to Queer Sci-Fi and check them out. We have the banner on the right-hand side of each article for Queer Sci-Fi as well. And we already talked about this next thing, Star Trek Picard season 2 trailer.
Yeah, we made the season 2 trailer.
Yeah. Quick thing, Netflix picked up Masters of the Universe to make.
Yeah.
Featuring Kyle Allen.
I looked him up. Where Andrea reviewed a movie that he was in, and I took a look and I went, okay. He doesn't exactly look the part.
And that's what everybody else is saying. Kyle Allen?
I mean, he's a good-looking young man, but I don't see him as in the role of He-Man. I just can't figure that one out.
Yep, exactly. And then our kind of last thing that we have here is a tribute to Brian Augustine, who we lost.
Just lost him a few days ago, and we're just devastated by this.
I screamed. I was in the living room.
I know. I heard you.
And
I got it from my desk to walk over and see what the heck happened.
I said, "Oh my God." And then I came in here, and it was devastating.
Because Brian was not only a friend of the show, he was a personal friend of ours.
Exactly. And he was, several people have said he was one of the most kind individuals.
Yes.
And he was, even when he was poking at you, it was totally done with love. Always done with love.
Yeah.
He always had a kind word. He always had an encouraging word for young creators. He had an encouraging word for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even us. I mean, he was always happy to see us, and we were always happy to see him.
And he was happy to be on our show.
Yep.
We interviewed him a number of times. I know that his creative partner, Mark Wade, was just
devastated.
Totally broken up because as far as Mark was concerned, Brian was his best friend.
Well,
and they created some amazing work together.
And Brian gave Mark his first real big break in the business. Brian created Gotham by Gaslight, which is probably his best work.
I would say that's his best work, yeah.
Which is the Elseworld series that he did. He and Mark worked on The Flash for several years.
Yes, they did.
Created a wealth of new and innovative things, and just Brian's work for DC and independent creators, independent comic creators.
There's one funny bit that I remember Brian shared with us. I don't remember all the details, but he said that I guess they were both watching the Flash series on the CW, and they did something in one of the earlier episodes where the Flash kind of lost control of his speed, ran into a dumpster, and it blew up. All the contents kind of blew up in there.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it was, I think he said that Mark contacted him and said,
he texted
did you
him
see
and said,
that?
Did you see that? It's right out of the comic.
Right out of our comic. It's something they did. So just one of the many amusing stories that Brian shared with us.
Yeah.
He will be forever missed.
Yep. And just an interesting thing about Gotham by Gaslight, and I think we told this recently, but they were, Mark and Brian were in Brian's office, and Mike Mignola was walking by to say goodbye. He was going over to Marvel to do some.
He was leaving
some things. He was on the way out the door, and they said, "Hey, Mike, come in here.
We just want to chat with you just for a second."
Yeah, and so they pitched him Gotham by Gaslight, and halfway through, he said, I'm going
to draw this, aren't I?
I'm drawing this, aren't I? He said, yes. He said a few choice words, but
yeah, but it didn't take him long to get very much on board with the idea, because if I remember right, he then began to pitch artistic ideas. Oh, I could do this, and how would it look if I tried that? So yeah, eventually he became very excited about the process too.
Yeah. So that's it for our first segment. So we're going to continue on with our birthdays here.
Hi, this is Joe Spector from Arizona Opera, and you're listening to the Two Gay Geeks.
My favorite music. Here's a few selected birthdays for February 7th through February 13th, 2022. February 7th, Charles Dickens, 19th century Victorian author. Wrote some of the best known characters in literary history, just incredible. Most of his work was social commentary on the working and living conditions in London at the time. And he also had some comically repulsive characters that he wrote. Oh, yeah. The big work that is time and time again is A
Christmas Carol?
A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Sorry, it just went out of my brain. But, he wrote many other things, Great Expectations, and
I think A Tale of Two Cities.
Yes. And as well as many, David Copperfield, all of those. And just a great author. And he actually could talk about that living conditions because his father was thrown in debtor's prison when he was 12. So he experienced some of what he wrote about. Then we have Eddie Izzard, performer who has starred on stage and screen in a variety of genders and gender-bending roles.
Yes.
Was recently seen in Lost Symbol.
I liked him in that.
And he was really good.
I liked him in that.
She, he. I can't remember what pronoun
I don't know
they want.
I think Eddie's going with they right now. I'm not certain, but I will say that I thought Eddie Izzard was fantastic. We talked about this. I didn't really care for the story, but I loved the characters. I liked the cast a great deal, and I hope that Eddie Izzard comes back for season 2, if there is one.
And then we have John Deere, founder of the John Deere Company and forebearer of our cat Little One, as she heaves the sand out of the box. And then our good friend Lee Massey. Happy birthday, Lee. February 8th, John Williams. What is there to say about composer Johnny Williams?
Johnny Williams, that's right.
Oh my God. He wrote some of the great scores and instantly recognizable leitmotifs in cinematic history. Mm-hmm. I mean, you hear, the beginning of a John Williams
it's John Williams.
You know it's John Williams, and you know exactly what it is.
And he was very much inspired by the composition style of Wagner.
Yep.
Because I remember when I first got my hands on the Star Wars album soundtrack, the double album, there was a little liner note in there inside a sleeve insert. And it talked about, John talked about his composing process and how he was borrowing from Wagner, creating these leitmotifs, these themes, so that the moment you hear it, it's about that person or these people or that situation, whatever. And that was such an eye-opener for me.
Yeah, and his creative process, he said, he uses the piano. He said he knows a lot of composers use various instruments, but he was old school, sit at the piano, pen and paper, or pencil and paper, and just a wonderful conductor of the Boston Pops for 12 years, and was friends with Jerry Goldsmith. And
yes, he was.
Kind of started out the reason it says Johnny Williams is because Johnny Williams wrote the score for
Lost in Space,
for Lost in Space, as well as several other Irwin Allen productions.
Right, and I saw an interview with Jerry Goldsmith not long ago where he made reference to John Williams. He called him Johnny.
Yep, exactly.
So there it is.
They were very good friends. Jules Verne, some say the father of science fiction. Some say you could say John Williams wrote the score for his life. But science fiction novelist of the 19th century, writing about fantastical adventures with a scientific flair, and some hard science, but
for its day.
Yeah, for its day. Second most translated author in history.
Oh, how about that?
Ethan Phillips, actor, Neelix on Star Trek Voyager. He's an accomplished tenor saxophone player.
How about that?
And then we have a friend of ours, Bernard Schober and Raz Yalov.
Happy birthday.
February 9th, Tom Hiddleston, actor, most known as Loki in the Marvel Universe. Plays piano, guitar, and loves performing Shakespeare.
He's also a brilliant impersonator.
Yes. It said he did a Robert De Niro impression of Robert De Niro.
Oh my God, that's warped.
And then we have Alban Berg, early 20th century composer. He was part of the Second Viennese School. He combined romantic lyricism with 12-tone technique. Now, the Second Viennese School was 12-tone, and he studied with Arnold Schoenberg. So, but he included that romantic lyricism into some of his things. So his music is not completely unlistenable. It takes, you got to muscle through some of it though. But I think some of it's incredible.
And what are some of the things that he's written?
Lulu and Wojciech.
Wojciech, I can listen to at parts. Lulu, I'm still trying to muscle my way through that one, and I haven't
wrap
been able
your head
to.
around that.
Yeah, I haven't been able to. No.
Well, the story is just bizarre to begin with.
It is a very bizarre story, but musically, it's just it's been an utter failure for me.
Yep. And then we have friend Jasmine Duran and Ed McAllister, a friend of mine from many, many, many years.
Didn't we meet Ed in New Mexico?
No.
Oh, that wasn't Ed. I'm sorry.
No. February 10th, Stella Adler. She was an actress and then went on to back to Broadway and founded an acting studio that numerous actors are alumni of. Marlon Brando, Warren Beatty, Cloris Leachman, James Coburn. A lot of people have studied at the Stella Adler studio. She died many years ago, but the studio...
The school is still there.
The academy is still there, yeah. Jerry Goldsmith.
Hey, just talking about the guy.
Yeah, composer, chameleon.
Yes.
Just another whose work is immediately recognizable.
I mean, well, I wouldn't say that it's immediately recognizable because
some of his things.
Because take a look at, I mean, one of his more recent things, you take a look at the Star Trek movies that he did. For example, Star Trek the Motion Picture or Star Trek First Contact. And then let's go back a couple of decades and listen to Planet of the Apes.
True, but he was, some of his standout stuff, some of his big stuff is immediately recognizable. Obviously, the Star Trek themes for various, TV shows and or motion pictures or pictures.
Soaring Over California.
Soaring Over California is just a marvelous piece. That's Jerry Goldsmith.
That's Jerry Goldsmith. Yeah, no doubt about that.
He liked to use Alexander Courage to orchestrate his scores.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
And I can't remember what the event was, but Henry Mancini praised his versatility and said, frankly, he scares the hell out of the rest of us because he is so versatile.
Well, and I think that's why he only ever won one Oscar, and that was for The Omen.
Yeah.
When he scored that. All the other, I don't know if he ever got nominated again, but he did win the Oscar the one time, and I think it's because he did scare so many people that they just didn't know what to do with him.
Yeah. Considered Star Trek First Contact the best Star Trek movie he scored.
Oh, no doubt.
And the score reflects that.
No doubt. It is absolutely, it is romantic. It's so romantic.
It is so emotional. I'm getting a little verklempt thinking about it.
It is. Okay, I'm going to share the story. We were at Star Trek The Experience in Vegas, and we were like first in there because they had just opened the doors, and we were in there and just kind of looking around, and they're playing Star Trek music, and they played that theme in the room. And I remember the first thought that ran through my head was, oh my God, I'm home.
Yeah.
And the score for First Contact then just became a part of my DNA after that.
Yeah. Then Roberta Flack, singer, graduate of Howard University. She taught music for a while after graduation until she was discovered singing jazz in a bar in Washington, D.C.
That is that's a little more common than we're willing to admit.
And two of her big songs were The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face from Play Misty for Me. What a creepy movie. But
it's a very creepy
film. I mean, the minute I hear that song, it takes me back to sitting in the theater watching that film. Mm-hmm. It's just creepy. And then Killing Me Softly with his song, or is another hit of hers. February 11th, Leo Szilard, Hungarian scientist who conceived the nuclear chain reaction that became the Manhattan Project and basis for nuclear power, and was also related to a customer of mine in Seattle.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Far out.
Ava Gabor, one of the Gabor sisters, Green Acres, Rescuers, and the Aristocats.
Yes.
And then we have a friend of ours, Raleigh Reynaud. February 12th, Franco Zepharelli, producer, director of films, television, and opera.
Genius.
Oh my gosh, some of his productions and set pieces at the Met are still being used.
Yeah, Turandot is the one they're still using. I don't know if they're using any others right now.
There's a couple.
I think they're using, for Bohem. I think they're still using his Bohem production.
He died in 2019 at the age of 96.
I know. Long life, marvelous legacy, and I kind of hope that some of his productions continue to live on at the Met. I'd hate to see them retired.
Then we have Steve Hackett.
We're seeing him later this year.
I'm going to let you tell about Steve Hackett.
Steve Hackett, a brilliant guitarist, good classical background, answered an ad for the band Genesis because they had their original guitarist. He needed to retire for health reasons. And so he joined, and that completely changed his life. He stayed with them for about 3 or 4 years, and then he quit and started to develop his solo career. And many people feel that he is the one that's kind of the torchbearer. He's keeping the flame alive for the classic Peter Gabriel era of Genesis material. I mean, he keeps going out on the road and revisits a lot of those classic Genesis songs, the ones that he played on. And right now, he is doing a tour where he's going through all of the second double live. Well, it's the second live album that Genesis ever did, called Seconds Out. And he's going through that entire thing, and audiences are going wild, and that's what we're seeing later this year. And the man is a guitar hero for me. I think he's amazing.
Yep. And then we have a friend of ours, Roberto Marcellini.
Another brilliant,
we saw
brilliant
him
guitarist.
And Daria on a Disney cruise and saw them several times on several cruises.
And
They're
I
just
tell you,
incredible.
I've heard a lot of guitarists try to emulate David Gilmour. Nobody does it as well as he does.
Yep.
His playing style it's like close your eyes and you think you're hearing David Gilmour of Pink Floyd.
February 13th, Stockard Channing, actress, Grease and Rizzo, at Rizzo in Grease,
yeah.
sorry. She did 16 episodes of Sesame Street.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. She was the mad artist victim or something like that. I don't know.
Far
whatever.
out.
And she was in Tu Wong Fu.
Yes.
Yes, she was great in that. I didn't even recognize her till the end, and I said, oh my God.
Stockard Channing.
Yeah. And then 69 episodes of The West Wing.
Which we're currently doing another one. Less than a year later, we decided we
Exactly.
needed to revisit the entire series.
Exactly. And then Peter Gabriel, who you
my
just
God.
talked about.
Yeah. One of the founders for the band Genesis. Amazing artist. And I think he experienced his most creative period when he went solo. And I consider myself blessed that I got to watch one of his solo tours. Amazing. And sadly, he's in his 70s now, so I think he said, I'm done. I'm hanging it up.
Yeah.
But wow, what a brilliant artistic and musical legacy that he left us. I'm just forever a fan of his.
Yep. And then we have a friend of ours, Joe Phillips. Happy birthday to everyone on that list. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Go give a listen to our friends Chuck and Craig over at Technorama Podcast.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counselors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
We want to give a shout out to Joshua Tree Feeding Program. We do every episode because we believe in their mission. They're a 501c3 nonprofit food pantry for the HIV and AIDS community in Maricopa and Pinal counties. They offer a place where clients can select from a wide assortment of nutritional foods to take home, and they set it up like a store so the clients can pick and choose what food they want, and it empowers them to take only what they want so no food is wasted. They have a second distribution day for those in the gender nonconforming community that may be experiencing food insecurity regardless of HIV status. They have some pet assistance program. They have things for pets as well as nutritional supplements for the clients and that are checked on by a registered dietitian and I believe a nurse practitioner they have as well that comes in to volunteer. They are an all volunteer organization and they could use your help right now. You can go to give a single gift or a monthly recurring gift at jtfp.org.
And it's time for our feedback. These are comments that we received in response to articles and episodes that we ran on our website at tggeeks.com. And the links for each of these articles that generated this feedback will be in the show notes for this episode number 364 at tggeeks.com, starting with regarding Andrea's Angle, Hotel Transylvania, Transformania, fun addition to series. We got a comment from our good friend Hicks, Michael Hickerson, from our Slice of Sci-Fi days. He left this for us on Instagram. He said, my daughter is very excited. This is arriving soon. Hicks, I have a suggestion. You write it, but I would love to hear what your daughter thought of it. So she tells you, you write it, and you share it with us. Hey, I like that.
That'd be cool.
I think that'd be really far out because I'd love to get a kid's point of view on that.
Yeah.
I also got a comment from a good friend of mine, Julie Marshall, who says, my grandkids love those movies. Julie, you're not old enough to have grandchildren. There, I've said it. Moving on, regarding Ben's breakdown, The Witcher, 3-episode thoughts. We got a comment from Walter Wright, a friend of the show. He left this for us on Twitter. He said, excellent breakdown. I read the books and they were just as confusing to follow as the Netflix series. Yennefer is an amazing character, as is Geralt. The dark, monstrous storyline is captivating in many ways. Patience while watching is the key. It all slowly comes together. And boy, did it come together.
Yeah, we also want to say,
get well.
Get well to Walter because he had a heart attack and is in the hospital currently.
Yeah,
I believe he's having a bypass or something.
Yeah, get well, Walter. We hope to see you back on social media soon. And then we close it off regarding Hamish Downey's 5 questions with Cameron Cole. We got a comment from Cameron Cole saying, thank you so much to Hamish Downey for the cute little interview. We are just shy of our halfway mark on our Kickstarter, and we are one of their projects we love with tons more exciting things to come. Headed out to finalize an audition with our next cast member today. So help us make this movie with a pledge. And then we lastly got a comment from Twitter Pated. That is the movie that Cameron Cole is making. And they also left this for us on Instagram saying, Twitter Pated got its first press. Head over to the Two Gay Geeks and check out the whole article by Hamish Downey. It's an interview with Cameron Cole. Make sure to hit up our fundraiser and help this film happen. And that's our feedback. I'm trying to go too fast here.
You can leave a comment on any place that you find us, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or even tggeeks.com. We, as well as our YouTube episodes, where you can comment on the episodes that we have. You can also leave us a voicemail if you want, because we have a listener feedback line. You can call 469 TG Geeks. That is 469-844-3357. Almost forgot the number. And as always, please play nice.
For more than 2 decades, Judy and Dennis Shepard have honored their son Matt by working to erase hate around the world. The Matthew Shepard Foundation honors his legacy by inspiring the good work of activists, teachers, artists, and legislators, and everyday LGBTQ+ folks and their allies. Join us today in helping to erase hate. Visit MatthewShepard.org.
Thank you to Comcast and NBC Universal for that promo. We are glad to and proud to present it to you. As everybody knows, we're huge supporters of independent creators, whether filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, or others. Please find those independent creators that you like, chat them up, talk to them, talk to other people about their stuff, buy their stuff, please consider supporting independent creators. If you are trans or are questioning your gender identity, and if you are in crisis or are feeling isolated and need someone to talk to, or you know of someone in a similar situation, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to translifeline.org to learn about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help. You are not alone.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
Okay, on to a rather sensitive subject.
Yes.
Spoilers!
Really?
Why? Why?
Why? Exactly.
I mean,
and there's, and I'm not going to say the names.
Oh, God, no. We're not going to give any names out, but
there's two huge websites that routinely spoil things in emails.
Mm-hmm. And what really annoys me is that
it's just...
I understand that there are people that stay up after midnight and wait for, like, the latest episode of Discovery or Prodigy or Book of Boba Fett, whatever, for it to all of a sudden become available. They start watching it right away, and then they write an article and spoil for those of us who haven't been able to see it yet.
Yeah.
I mean, we have day jobs, so we can't get to it until sometime that evening.
I mean, for heaven's sake, there is such thing as common courtesy. Don't spoil it in a headline.
No.
And when you click on an article, be sure and say spoiler alert,
right,
so that people can stop reading.
Exactly. I had to mute certain filters on my Twitter feed so that I wouldn't see these articles show up. But I still get the emails.
But it's not just them.
No.
It's folks out there.
It's a number of people.
Just out there on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and wherever else.
Well, one person did a big spoiler.
My Lord.
One person did a big spoiler for a Prodigy episode from like 2 weeks ago and was immediately taken to task by a lot of that person's followers saying, you really needed to warn people, because it was a major story point. And I was very upset that I read that. And it's not like I couldn't help it, because it was in a featured artwork that you just saw right, boom, right. It was there. So I thought, okay, now I have to start muting people. I don't want to have to mute people or mute subjects just so that I don't get spoiled. But now I have to do that because I don't want to be spoiled. I want to be surprised as I see the shows. And I know you do too.
Exactly. And
it's very frustrating.
It's just, I think it's rude.
Well, and I remember when we were with Slice of Sci-Fi, our podfather, Michael Armenegay,
oh my God,
he had a hard rule that it was going to be 3 weeks or 3
At
months.
Least. I don't recall. It was some inordinate.
It was a big.
Period.
Actually, I think it was 3 months.
Yeah,
especially if it was a movie.
Well, but that was a different time as well. So,
yeah,
but I would say today you need to at least a couple of weeks.
Oh, at the very least. And if you're going to say something, even then, still put a spoiler headline and do what we call a spoiler feed, where you put a bunch of blank lines so that people will not accidentally see it if they click on it.
Exactly. And there are some, I can't remember what platform it was. Maybe it was, I don't know whether it was Amazon in reviews, or was it on Reddit or someplace, that if you didn't give a spoiler alert and you spoiled something, they would boot you.
Actually, it's IMDb.
Well,
IMDb does that, but I think Amazon does it as well. And I know that Goodreads also has a little tick box that if you're going to do a review and if it's spoilery, you have to tick that box.
Yep.
So I think that allows for there to be a filter or some kind of mask so that if the reader doesn't want to be spoiled, they don't have to be.
Right. So.
And I think it's only common decency, but especially to those news sources that send out emails, if there's something spoilery in it, put it in your headline.
Exactly.
So that we're not spoiled by what you have to say.
Exactly. No spoilers, please. Thank you.
And it's time for our weekly review. These are items that we ran on our website at tggeeks.com this past week, and the links for each of these will be in the show notes for this episode number 364 at tggeeks.com, starting with Sunday, January 30th, Nerdy Chupacabras number 85. On Monday the 31st, TG Geeks episode number 363. On Tuesday, February 1st, Ben's Gay Book Breakdown. Beware Your Heart's Desire in The Devil You Know. That is a new book by Morgan Bryce. Fantastic. I loved it. On Wednesday the 2nd, rest in peace, Brian Augustine, creator, Gotham by Gaslight. On Thursday the 3rd, Andrea's Angle, Moonfall, ludicrous fun. On Friday the 4th, Hamish Downey's February playlist. This is a new thing that Hamish is doing every first Friday. He gives a new playlist of movies. And then we close it off Saturday the 5th, Jurassic World Dominion and NBC Sports release Winter Olympics 2022 spot. Ooh, I love that. And that is what we ran on our website this past week. We have some shout-outs that we need to make. First to our good friend Brian Weber, Arkle. He's on Twitter as Brian the Ampersand List YouTuber. He has his Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News, which republishes some of our content from time to time. And you can find that by finding him on Twitter. And to do that, look for Geek of All Trades. Geek is spelled G, number 3, K of All Trades. And while you're looking for all things Arkle, go to his YouTube channel, Arkle Studios, youtube.com/Arkle Studios. He has a number of his projects there. His Shameless Cash Grab series, which is now in season 7, his Rants vs. Zombie series, it's still there even though it's over, so you can always listen to past episodes, as well as Arkle Tier Ranks and his game videos of Trick and Treat, as well as Star Trek Online. We must also give some shout-outs to a couple of Facebook groups for allowing us to post our episodes and relevant articles on their pages. First to Gay Geeks After Hours. Big thanks to their moderators for saying that we could share away our content there, and their URL is facebook.com/groups/Gay Geeks After Hours. And then to The Gay Geek for pretty much the same, and their web address is facebook.com/groups/The Gay Geek. And as always, we give special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Other places we can be found are Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Amazon Podcasts, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Sci-Fi Radio at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesdays for a replay, and listen to their other content. They are a 24-hour geeky internet radio station. Please rate us and review us on iTunes, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We're going to have several links on the page of things that we talked about, as well as links of things you can buy, like Doom Days. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail of 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Stay safe, wear a mask, get vaccinated. Peace.
Cheers.